Gentleman yields back. I yield 5 minutes to myself. I just wanted to take up a little bit where Congressman Biggs and Congressman Johnson were speaking, talking about the diversity, equity, inclusion issue that Commissioner Slaughter has evidently championed. Do you believe, and I know it's hard, but if you could just give me a yes or no answer, do you believe that should be a major and significant part of antitrust enforcement? Do you believe that's your job?
So our job is to enforce the antitrust laws, which prohibit unfair methods of competition or deals that substantially lessen competition or tend to create a monopoly. We endeavor to do that work to protect everybody.
So what does that have to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I'm not really sure. I mean, could you share more about what your specific concerns are?
Well, Commissioner Slaughter has said, and we have quotes, that this needs to be have a major role in antitrust enforcement, that's a very major piece of it, that it's part of it. Do you agree with that or not? I didn't think, in all honesty, there are agencies who have that job and that responsibility. I didn't believe that yours did, but I was just, concerned, are we going to, as it is, you're short of resources. We can't do all the things we want to do to protect the consumer. I don't know why we would divert resources, time, energy, and people power to actually going forward with that.
Yeah, look, I won't speak on behalf of my colleague. I mean, again, what I think about is the ways in which concentration of economic power and monopoly power hurts everybody.
I understand.
And we need to keep that in mind as we're using these tools and making sure we're protecting all parts of the American public from these practices.
I agree. I'm concerned, and I'm just picking up where Congressman Fry left off on some of the state of morale at the FTC since you began your tenure. Examples such as hiring a chief of staff described as frequently creating friction with an aggressive managerial style, or choosing an associate director for litigation in the Bureau of Competition with less than 2 years of legal experience before joining your office as a high-ranking member. Can you speak on that for just a moment?
Yeah, I'm really lucky to have a fantastic senior
You do have good staff. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you do have a good staff. But some things, and let me say this just to maybe clarify this more. On the matter of agency morale, the Bureau of Competition, which you're familiar with, whose mission is to enforce the nation's antitrust laws, one of your top priorities, and I believe it is, saw its engagement and satisfaction score drop by 33% since you began your tenure. Do you think that's a result of your leadership style? Is it a result of something else? Or are there other factors that are affecting FTC employees? You do have a lot of great people there, but the point is, a lot of those great people have also expressed that they're not happy. Why?
And I couldn't agree more that it's important for us to understand what some of the source of those numbers are. And as we've been looking to do, and I should also note, I mean, for the Bureau of Competition in particular, over the last couple of years, they've been on the front lines of a surge in merger filings. I mean, year over year, they were seeing a 70% increase in the number of filings coming in, while their numbers.
I understand that, but they're not happy. We have a lot of people that work very hard, but they're happy.
Just to commend them, of course. And so we've been looking to understand, again, what more can we be doing?
So you're working on this?
Correct.
Okay. You think it's going to get better?
I'm hopeful.
Okay. I wanted to talk about unpaid consultants for a moment, which the Office of the Inspector General, this was not me saying this, the Inspector General said this, labeled as, quote, unprecedented, end quote. The Inspector General report from last year said you didn't give these consultants clear guidance or limits. I'm not saying it. This is not a Republican saying it or a Democrat or anybody else on their work, and that there was concern that these practices may, quote, violate policies for federal agencies that stipulate that such agencies, these hires are not allowed to play an inherently, quote, an inherently governmental function. Can you tell us how many of these consultants are working at the FTC, what they're doing, and how often you meet with them?
So there is federal authority allowing government agencies to make use of some of these consultants, especially in areas where we don't have existing expertise.
Respectfully, I understand that. We're running out of time. Why did the Inspector General sound an alarm, though?
The Inspector General's report identified certain areas where we could be tightening up our processes and procedures to make sure we're mitigating against risk. We followed very closely the IG's recommendations and have been moving forward to implement those recommendations.
Okay. I have items for the record. I have 2 articles from the Americans for Tax Reform titled, quote, Linda Khan has some explaining to do, end quote, as well as Khan reveals that she, quote, handpicked controversial unpaid consultants. Thank you for your answers. I'm going to yield back with that. I think that will conclude today's hearing. We thank our witnesses for appearing before the committee. We thank you for being here. Without objection, all members will have 5 legislative days to submit additional written questions for the witnesses or additional materials for the record. Without objection, this hearing is adjourned.